We've arrived in Rome in the morning and we're eager to see the sights of the city, out for a morning walk.
Now have a look, have a smell. So this is just typical of one kind of place that you can grab a quick bite, a little light snack if you want to. Slice of pizza and soda, and it would be pretty inexpensive, just a few dollars. But for now, we're not going to be eating in here. We're going to go on to the Piazza Navona. This church is a very important one. It's called Sant Andrea della Valle. And it's the second highest dome in all of Rome. And it's got a beautiful interior. We might get to see that later on in a couple of days. But anyway, it's a landmark. The Piazza Navona is just this away, a little block. We're going to take a little shortcut into the back door. So when you're coming home from the Piazza Navona, you'll find this church and you take a left. That'll take you home. So it's always a good idea when you're traveling to look behind you to see which way you came from and get your orientation. So let's go this way. Well, right now we're in the Piazza Navona, which is really the most beautiful of all the squares in Rome. So this is as good as it gets right here. This is the ultimate. And you see clusters of statues and fountains. There's a palace here, a palace there. There's a church in the middle called Sant Andrea. It was designed by Borromini, who was one of those wonderful Baroque artists that I mentioned, Bernini and Borromini. And facing the church is that Egyptian obelisk. And we're going to have a walk down and have a close look at it. And it's straddling on top of the Fountain of the Four Rivers, which was one of the masterpieces of Bernini. So also this statue right here in front of us with the fountain, it's called the Fountain of the Moor, also designed by Bernini himself. It's one of his lesser works, but there it is anyway. And there's a home of a cardinal to the other side of it, and again Sant Andrea. And then just at the other end of the piazza there's several restaurants, and that's where we can inquire and take a look at their menus and either sit down and have a meal, some spaghetti, or you can go to a sandwich shop, which is right at the other end of the piazza, and grab a light bite there. Anybody want to take your pictures with this? Okay, so go ahead and open your cameras up for me, and go ahead. Okay, ready, 1, 2, beautiful. What a shot, okay. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Great. 2, 3, okay. 1, oh, that's a nice one. Here we go. Beautiful. And here. Okay, I'll try again. Okay, so we're going to just walk on right down, have a look at this fountain as we go, and we'll meet at the Egyptian obelisk. So let me just tell you about this statue that you're looking at. It's the Fountain of the Four Rivers, and it was carved and designed by Bernini, Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the most important of the Baroque artists of the 1650s, 1680s. And it's an original Egyptian obelisk up on top of it. The figures, the big figures, represent the four main rivers of the world as seen at that time. It's the Nile, the Ganges, the Danube, and the Plata from South America. So each of the four corners here represent those four rivers of the world. And you'll see, as you walk around it, you'll see other figures, tropical motifs. There's a horse struggling, and you see that there's almost like an empty space beneath the obelisk, as if the obelisk is floating in air, floating in space. And here we have a nice view of the facade of Sant Andrea, St. Agnes. She was martyred on this spot, supposedly. St. Agnes was the one who refused to renounce her faith, and she was stripped naked, but her hair grew instantly to cover her body, and then she was executed. And she became a saint as a result of that miracle. And you see the facade, it's curved. It comes curved out and curved in, and this is very typical of Borromini with the convex and the concave of the Baroque. Very different than the Renaissance, which was a very flat kind of a facade. So it's just a very rhythmical kind of motion to the building. Now, what we can do is take some time here, maybe 5 minutes for you to have a good look at the fountain and take some nice pictures of it. And how pretty this piazza is. It's been used for movies and TV shows, fashion shoots. It's very picturesque. And like I say, you'll have time to come back here on your own several times. This is a wonderful spot at night. It's very safe at night, and it's lively, it's full of people, and it's almost like a party atmosphere.
Is that back
here?
alley safe at night?
And yeah, all these streets are safe at night. There's no problem at all. Now, these restaurants around the piazza are a little more expensive, naturally, than restaurants just a block away.
We're in the heart of historic Rome, which means there's a restaurant on nearly every corner, and most of them are quite fine. One of our favorites is this outdoor pizzeria. It's on Vicolo Febo, just behind the Piazza Navona, next to the Hotel Raphael. We always have a nice light lunch there, thin pizzas or some pasta, some soup. By now it's mid-afternoon, so we're taking the rest of the day off to rest since it's our first day in Europe on the tour. And the next morning we get going again with another walking tour.
Yeah, once you get rolling, it'll be okay, right? Everybody had a nice rest? You all still carrying your picture page? So there's 4 teams right there. Well, we're all going to go together. We're going to take a walk from here to the Pantheon for starters. So let's go look at the Pantheon.
Fortunately, our hotel is right in the historic center, so it just takes a few minutes to walk
over
to the
here,
Pantheon
this way.
and the
Yay.
Piazza Navona and other highlights of the city.
We've arrived here at the Pantheon. This is the back side of the Pantheon, and we're going to walk around and see the front of the Pantheon, and then we'll go inside this building. Now, this is 2,000 years old, and it's the greatest intact building left anywhere in the world from the Roman Empire, in the sense of having its original roof intact and the walls are intact. It's not perfectly preserved because the outside would have been all marble, white marble, but that was stripped off by later builders, by the popes and by other people who used the marble to build their own houses and their own palaces. Recycling happened throughout the history of Rome. But since the marble has been stripped off, we can see some of the construction techniques. Obviously, it's all made out of brick, and you see some of these arches within the brick. This was a Roman technique to further stabilize the construction and stabilize the wall itself. At the base, the walls are about 18 feet thick, and we'll see the dome. We can't really see the dome from here, but we're going to walk around to the very front of the Pantheon and get a better view of the outside of the dome, and then we're going to walk inside the Pantheon and we'll have a look around inside. So let's stick together. We're going to go all the way up to the end of this piazza. Just take a look here. You can see some of the marble. This is some of the original marble still intact. So this shows you what the entire building would have looked like before they stripped the marble off of it. And in fact, the dome itself would have been covered in bronze and then gold, gilded bronze. Fine, so let's go around and inside the Pantheon. The portico, the porch of the Pantheon. And you see these huge pillars. Each one of these pillars is a single piece of stone. They're monolithic slabs of granite, which is really quite unusual. Most columns that you see in Greece or in Rome consisted of drums, of sections of columns. Some of the obelisks even were in sections. Most obelisks are monoliths, like that one is an Egyptian obelisk in the piazza there. But these columns are truly, truly marvelous, and it's felt that they are part of the original building, which was built about the year 0, more or less, and then it burned down. And then it was rebuilt in the year 114. So the building that we're going to enter right now was built in the year 114. And those doors are original doors from that time. Those are bronze doors and they still function. They close them at night and nobody can get in when those doors are shut. But this portico is believed to be even a little earlier than the building itself. The ceiling of the portico would have been covered in bronze, but that was stripped away by the Barberini popes in the 17th century so that Bernini could build the beautiful altar that we're going to see in St. Peter's. The baldacchino in St. Peter's was made from the bronze that was ripped off the roof here. But look at how beautiful the columns are. You see the the Corinthian capitals of the columns and the Corinthian pilasters. There's these flat pillars against the wall are called pilasters. But now for the most exciting event of all, we're going to go inside, and let me just say a few words out here before we go in about the structure. It's a dome and a barrel. So the walls are like a barrel with a dome sitting on top of it. And the height of the dome is the same as the diameter of the barrel. So it creates a beautiful sense of harmony. And there's only one opening at the top. It's called the oculus that allows air and light to come in. Okay, so with that, let's go in and let's stay together so I can talk to you a little bit inside.
That's the only light in there, right?
Yeah, and through the doorway. So the dome is 165 feet tall. The dome was built out of poured concrete. And it was very light concrete at the top, made out of a tufa mixture, like a volcanic ash. It speaks for itself. This is truly a building that speaks for itself. It's been called the most perfect building ever constructed. It's said that Hadrian himself, the great emperor Hadrian, is the man who designed this temple. He reigned around 120 AD. And Marcus Agrippa was given credit for having built the original Pantheon, which then burned down. And Agrippa's name is still on the portico we'll see out front later on. Hadrian was such a great emperor and such a benevolent, generous fellow, he left the name of his predecessor up there, even though Hadrian himself was the inspiration for this temple. This was the largest dome in the world for 2,000 years. What we're going to do now is walk right up to that corner of the piazza, and we'll stop there and you'll have a nice view of the Pantheon. It'll all come together for you at that point. So let's meet up at that corner and have a look at the fountains as we go. It's somewhat based upon the Greek idea of that sort of a pediment. Kind of like the Parthenon, has the triangular pediment and the columns. The Parthenon, again, is in Athens. This is the Pantheon. And they're similar. They're both temples, religious temples. But the Pantheon is so unique in that it united the concept of the Greek facade with the Roman dome, because it was truly the Romans who invented the dome. All around this area was the center of ancient Rome. This was called the Field of Mars, Campus Martius. And there would have been other temples, other complexes, administrative buildings, barracks for the soldiers, and it went all the way down to the Roman Forum that we're going to be seeing tomorrow morning on our bus tour. And it connects, in fact, all the way down to the Colosseum. So you ain't seen nothing yet. The Colosseum itself is the grandest building that the Romans ever constructed, and it just happens to be here, right here in the heart of Rome. But that's much less intact. This one is pretty complete. Gives you a feeling for, instead of just seeing ruins on the ground, you know, and broken pieces of columns like you'll see so often in classical antiquity. This building is still here, and it's here because it was so perfect, so beautiful, and because it was used for, even if it was used for a fish market, at least it was used for something, and that kept it going. Just like all of us, we got to keep things in use, right? So we'll keep our bodies moving for another hour and a half,